All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, What Are They Thinking? With KW Maps coach, Moll. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours on the Maps Fast Track YouTube channel. You may access the YouTube channel from your Zoom confirmation email, and we will share the link in the chat momentarily. Currently, everyone is on mute. We do value group participation, so we ask that if you have questions, please type them into the chat box. Your questions will be addressed by your coach throughout your webinar. Following the meeting, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's all for me. Kara, take it away.
Madeline, thank you so very much. I'm so excited to be here and welcome everybody to What Are They Thinking? As I was preparing to meet with you all today, I ran through some different educational opportunities that you have available to you. In MAPS, we talk about 3 foundational courses. Obviously, Bold is one. And if you're not in Bold, starting this week, October, we're going to be launching a bunch of them. Career visioning is the second, right? How to hire, retain, train talent. And then the third that completes the trifecta is the language of sales. Gary Keller says that taking these classes is like going to school and advancing a grade level every time you take them. So everyone raise your right hand. Do what I'm doing right now. I can see some of you on the screen. Raise your right hand, reach over your left shoulder, and give yourself a pat on the back. I mean, why? Because you could be anywhere right now. And yet you chose to be right here, right now, today, choosing to work on you. Your active participation clearly demonstrates that you're living the bold law. Your business grows to the extent you do. So let's grow. I'm Kara Moll. I've been a performance coach with MAPS coaching for over 8 years. I'm a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. It's much easier to write than it is to say. I'm a head coach, which means I also train other coaches. And I'm a bold coach, in addition to lots of other things real estate related. And I'm 100% honest when I tell you that I took this class. Language of Sales was the very first MAPS class that I ever took when I came to KW way back when in 2008. I mean, some of you weren't even agents then. Some of you were in grade school then. And I think all of you were born then, at least. So and I took it then, and I've continued to take it. And then when I really wanted to master it, well, quite frankly, I started teaching it. So I use these concepts on a daily basis. Ask anybody around me, they'll know. I use them on a daily basis because they're the essence for great communication. It's not just about selling things. It's about truly understanding people. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So many of you already know how this works, and Madeline said it quickly in her intro. For those that may have joined us late, use the chat box that you have on your right to answer any questions that I may have of you, or to ask any questions. And you can also use the raise hand feature. I will have time to do a little bit of Q&A at the end as well. So the session is recorded, and as Madeline stated, it will be found on the MAPS YouTube channel after we're done. So you've invested in yourself, and quite frankly, in this program, and you're spending your time here today. And I'm going to work with you in an area that is truly a passion of mine, and that's powerful language. Have you ever wondered what someone else is thinking? I mean, like, really, what are they thinking? And I don't mean in a judgmental way. What I really mean is, what thoughts are going through their head? Like, maybe you're at a listing appointment and you just gave, oh my gosh, you gave a top-notch A#1 listing presentation, and the potential clients across the table are just kind of sitting there, poker face, like, well, and you can't help but wonder, what's going through their head? What are they thinking? Or for those that are married or have a significant other in their life, have you ever witnessed your spouse do something and you just say, yeah, I'm saying it with my face, kind of that inquisitive? What is their thought process because it's so different than yours. I mean, it happens, right? Can anybody think of an example of that? And if you do, just take yourself off of mute and we'd be happy to hear if you have one to share. Or is it just me? It must be just me. Okay. So I tend to think of it as, my husband and I, we're like a yin and a yang. He'll do something and I will literally look at him and go, I don't understand that. I don't understand what's causing you to do blah, blah, blah when you could do it in blah. So think about that. You have examples of that. So, or think about this. Perhaps you're like me and you've read a book. You've absolutely loved the book. And then you go see the movie. You can't wait to see the movie because, of course, you love the book. And you go to the movie and you're like, well, it was okay. Book was better. That's exactly what we're going to be discussing here. That's because your personal internal representation is what we're talking about, of the characters, the locations, the scenery, how they sound, what they look like. Well, it didn't necessarily align with the movie makers' internal representations of what all those things were supposed to be. And because of that, you were disappointed because you had an expectation of something based on your thinking, your programming, etc. So let's do a little experiment. Now, take a moment and picture the color blue in your mind. Picture the color blue in your mind. And you might want to close your eyes, except if you're driving, please don't close your eyes. And I'm hoping that none of you are driving while you're on this call. But if you can, if you're sitting at a desk or somewhere, just close your eyes because our imagination works better with our eyes closed with that blank canvas. So picture the color blue in your mind right now. And now picture a blue shirt, a blue shirt. And if you're blinking, your eyes aren't closed. I'm just saying. You're picturing a blue shirt. Now picture a blue short sleeve shirt. Now picture a blue short sleeve shirt made of cotton. Now picture a blue short sleeve shirt made of cotton that's polo style. Now picture a baby blue short sleeve cotton polo style shirt. Lock that in. And now open your eyes. How many times did your internal representation change? I mean, the first thing was the color blue. Was the color blue that you started out thinking the same exact color blue that you ended up with? Was when I said a blue shirt, was it the same blue shirt that you ended up with? I mean, most likely, based on the things I said, it changed at least 6 or 7 times based on the information that I gave you. So do you see how quickly each of your internal representations can shift? Each of us went from whatever blue meant to individually picturing an upper body garment in some shade of blue. I mean, somebody might have pictured a long sleeve shirt, a short sleeve, whatever it was. Some blues were light, some were dark, some were yellow blues, some were red blues. Whichever it was for you was exactly right and comfortable for who? For you, right? So I think you're now understanding how words can lead someone in a specific direction, aren't you? Just like I did in 30 seconds with you. I helped craft your internal representation the more specific I became. So internal representations are important because they create emotion in people. Internal representations create emotion in people. Now you might be saying, well, I didn't get real emotional about that blue polo shirt you talked about. And yet, depending on what the topic is, you might, because maybe you pictured someone you loved in that blue polo shirt. I'm guessing it wasn't just laying in a pile on a floor. And in which case, if you're a parent and have a teenager and it was laying on a pile on a floor, there probably was some emotion around it. So internal representations create emotion. And as you use your language, you create internal representations in your listener's mind. Important things to remember with internal representations are these. An internal representation creates that state, which is a feeling. It creates a state or a feeling. And when you add that to the fact that when we get a feeling, it triggers a physiological reflex, right? And the body responds to that. A physiological reflex, the feeling, the physiological reflex would be what we would call an action, right? The response, the action. And then as a result of those two things, well, a behavior is created. A behavior is created. So someone's internal representation is what they are thinking, period. It's not yours, it's theirs. And this is why we say no two people can experience the same thing, right? Because it's all based on our programming. Remember this, someone's internal representation helps us understand how they see the world. If we're talking about their internal representation, it's as if we're putting on their lens. So when you master the techniques that we're going to teach in the language of sales, you impact the listener's internal representation, which impacts their state and physiology, which in turn impacts the choices and their behavior. And the more you impact people in your presence in a positive way, well, the more empowered they're going to feel. And when people feel empowered in your presence, they're going to anchor that state of empowerment to who? To you, right? They're going to anchor that state of empowerment to you. And when people anchor strong feelings of positivity and empowerment to you, what type of ripple effect could that have in your business? Go ahead and use the box. What type of ripple effect would that have in your business if people are anchoring strong feelings of positivity to you? Go ahead and share. It could equal referrals, right? And thanks, Alicia, your internal representation changed a few times there, 4 times. So you could get referrals, right? Right, Donna? Are they going to want to work with you? Everybody go like this. Yes, they're going to want to work with you. You're going to create deeper connections, trust. Exactly. People want to work with people that they can trust. So think about that. When they anchor those strong feelings of possibility and confidence, you're right. You're right. You're right on that, Aziz. When people anchor those strong feelings of positivity and empowerment to you, they're going to work with you. People like, trust, and refer people who make them feel good. And I know you agree with that. They're going to feel closer and more open. You're exactly right, Teresa. And you may be thinking, great, Kara. So you just showed us that even though we're all in the same place, envisioning the same thing, it's likely that we're not on the same page. So how do we get on the same page? Here's where the magic starts to happen. You dig in and you ask powerful questions. Ask powerful questions. And you're probably going, what? I ask a question? No, you ask powerful questions. So let's talk about what powerful questions are and aren't. Powerful questions, and I would write that down if you're taking notes with a capital P, capital Q, because it's a specific thing. Give us insight, because they get the other person in the conversation speaking and answering questions that actually make the person have to think, meaning they don't have a habitual answer. What would a habitual answer be? Well, here's a great example of a habitual answer. You walk into one of my favorite stores is Nordstrom's, and I frequently go there when I absolutely have to get something. Like I may know that I'm looking for a special occasion dress and for a wedding I'm going to, and I know that I want it to be black. Right. And I walk into Nordstrom's and I'm walking through the department, and the great person at Nordstrom says, hi, how are you? Welcome to Nordstrom's. Can I help you find something specific today? My automatic response, or they say, can I help you find something? My automatic response, no, thank you, just looking. Why? Because it's habit. It's habit. It's nothing else other than habit, because that's what I've heard for years. Like, don't bother me, stay away. It's habit. When the reality is I'm looking for a black cocktail dress in size, whatever. Can you show me? And boom, I could be in and out. But my habitual language kicked in and took over, right? It kicked in and took over. So That's a conditioned habitual response or habitual language. So when we use powerful questions, it actually breaks that habitual language pattern that they have running in their head. So to understand powerful questions better, let's first talk about what they're not. Powerful questions do not start with the word why. So write WHY, big, circle around it, cross it out. They never start with the word why. And there's two main reasons. The first is because we've all been programmed that the answer to a why question is because, right? Just ask any parent, why can't I? Why can't I? Because, right? The second is because it causes the listener to become defensive. Why are you asking? Why do you want to do that? Why should I do that? Do you hear how it causes the listener to be defensive? In its simplest form, the word why makes us justify our behavior. And think about a little child who doesn't like the answer they've been giving. What do they keep doing? Right? They ask, why? And they keep asking over and over again until the parent wears down or it comes to a head. Why questions don't make the listener think forward. It actually has them dig in and maybe even go backwards, and it breaks rapport. Why questions are really good if you're in one scenario, if you're looking to start a fight or have someone become defensive. They're really weak if you're looking to build a stronger relationship or looking to get someone to move forward in the direction that they want to go. For these reasons, we recognize that asking a why question won't allow us that further peek into someone's internal representation. It's going to shut the listener down, and even worse, it could cause them to get defensive. And the moment the client or potential client or person on the other side of the conversation gets defensive, you've lost their trust. And we know that trust is imperative. You said it a few moments ago. Trust is imperative to build that successful relationship. So now that we know what they aren't, let's look at what they are. There's 4 key elements. Powerful questions tend to be open-ended. What's an open-ended question? Well, it can't be answered with a yes or a no. It's open-ended. They actually have to think and give us some more information, which ties into the second thing. They're thought-provoking. They don't have a conditioned habitual response because they've never been asked a question in this way. So they actually have to think about it. And then they start telling you their internal representation, their belief about something. They're clarity seeking for us and for the listener. Because if they're talking about it, has there ever been a time where you thought, maybe you were confused about something and then you start saying it out loud and then you hear it and you're like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Clarity seeking. It's going to be clarity seeking for both the listener and the person asking the question. And of course, because we always want to move someone forward, they're solution oriented. Powerful questions cause the listener to search for answers and choices. They give us insight into someone's internal representation. And they start with words like this: who, what, when, where, how. Or maybe a phrase like, tell me, say more. So I'll give you a moment to write those down. Who, what, when, where, how. Who, what, when, where, how. Tell me more, say more. So hopefully everybody writes fast and we've got those down. So remember, powerful questions are open-ended because we want the listener to have to think and to give us a more thorough answer. So here's some examples of some powerful questions. How does that fit into your plans? I don't know if I want to make an offer right now. Okay. How does that fit in your plans to be moved in before the school year starts? It's much better than saying, well, why don't you want to make an offer? It gets the person to think. Here's another one. What's the outcome you're looking to achieve? What's the outcome you're looking to achieve? When would it make sense to have that conversation? When would it make sense to have that conversation? Or where will that take you? Where will that take you? And lastly, I also have a sample. Who could provide that? Who could provide that? Well, we can't do that. Well, who could? Who could do that? So do you see powerful question examples? How, what, when, where, that they actually get the person on the other side of the conversation talking. And the more they talk, the more we can see their internal representation, what they're believing, what they think. And when we get those answers, we can help move them forward to what their intended goal is. So now it's going to be your turn, and we're going to be a little interactive here. So I put the words, that the starter words, back on the screen, and I'm going to give you a couple scenarios. And please use the chat box to share a powerful question. This is where we learn. So remember to start the question with one of the words on the screen. So our first scenario is a seller would like to list their house at a higher price than you're recommending. That's happening right now, right? As our market shifts and changes, that's happening. So the seller says, yeah, I really want to list it at a higher price. Write your powerful question right now in the box. What would be a great, powerful question that you could follow up with? I'm going to let a couple of them populate. So Katie says, tell me how that fits in with your plan to be sold in the next 45 days. That is a fantastic, powerful question, because that brings them back to reality, right? Makes them have to think. Stefan says, what is your motivation? Right? What is your motivation? Alicia, what is the outcome you're looking to achieve by doing that? That's really good. So you want to list it higher. What's the outcome you want to achieve? Richard says, tell me when you want to move. Tell me when you want to move. That I would say is a little more close-ended. It would be, tell me more about that price, would make it really strong, Richard. Okay, when are you planning to move? The when question. How does that make your home more attractive to buyers? Boom. Tell me more about the reason. What happens to your plan? You guys are getting it, right? Remember, as you're structuring powerful questions, the purpose is to get them talking as much as they can, because when they're talking, they're giving you insight. Let's do one more. And a buyer wants to wait for interest rates to come down. I'm just going to smile as I say that, right? Because we all know that's not reality. So what would be a powerful question? A buyer wants to, the buyer found their perfect house and they're like, yeah, I think I just want to, I heard the Fed raised rates again. I just want to wait for interest rates to come down. So go ahead and use the box. Right. Gina, how does that fit into your plans? And I would say, to be in a bigger home before the baby comes, or whatever the situation is. I think that's a great start. Let's talk about rate buy downs that are very successful for buyers today. Okay, Shirley, that's not a question. We're telling them we're going to do something. So a powerful question. A buyer wants to wait for interest rates to come down. Teresa, beautiful question. What could happen if they go up? That's exactly it. Brittany, how long are you willing to wait? Right? Donna, tell me how waiting would benefit you and your family. Katie, say more about how that helps you grow your wealth now. What's the benefit to you waiting? All right, Donna Barnes, I'm gonna do the red circle with the X through it, and I think you know why. What are the right conditions for you to become a homeowner? Brilliant. All the questions that I highlighted, that I read, that you guys put in the box, I trust that you see how it actually gets the person on the other side of the conversation talking. And that's what we want them to do. Remember, our goal is to always meet people where they're at and take them to where they want to go. Powerful questions allow us to do that. And when you get in the habit of asking powerful questions through your participation in MAP's language of sales, you're going to win more business. Simply put, asking powerful questions gives us a peek into the person's internal representation and helps us understand how they're seeing the world. Remember that. Speaking of wondering what someone's thinking, I'm guessing that right now you're thinking, well, this is good. This is great information, Kara, and I'll just start asking powerful questions and my business is going to grow. And you might be right. However, most people who believe that they make a conscious choice to use the technique, their commitment wanes over time, right? We've seen it before. It's not because they don't want to, it's just because their habitual thinking takes over, and those habitual vocabulary, their habit words overpower the interest in doing something different. How many of you are feeling a shift in the market right now? Just give me a couple head nods. Right? Yep. Is that creating a shift in the way we have to do business? Of course it is. And there may never be a better time in your career when your level of skills are going to be the determining factor in controlling your destiny. And what I mean by that is, if you know that our number of appointments is going to go down because of the economic factors that we're currently facing and moving more into, then isn't every appointment more important than the last one? Instinctively, you're already beginning to understand the need to take advantage of the opportunity to increase your sales through your mastery of language. And if you want to begin to master your language skills, because you definitely recognize that how you communicate is going to be a key component, if not the key component, in not only surviving our new market, thriving in it, then you need to enroll now in the next launch of MAP's language of sales. And I'll just share with you the details over our last few minutes here. I invite you to join me in MAP's language of sales. It begins on Thursday, September 8th at 12 o'clock Eastern, 11 Central, 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific. And that is PM to AM, 9 a.m. Pacific. They're 1-hour sessions. They're recorded. So if you can't be on it live, or if you're on the Pacific Coast and it's in your lead generation time, they're recorded. You get the recordings within 24 hours. If you miss a class, you can still participate. You can also review the sessions because you get them for 60 days following the course. We have a great private Facebook group. And I will tell you, the people that participate in these Facebook groups in this class, they are looking to better themselves, and they want to position themselves in their referrals with people who want to better themselves too. The investment is $299 for all 8 weeks. And when you use the code WEB15, it's 15% off. 15% off. Now, $299 for 8 weeks of training, you already know you're paying a far greater price for your skills. Thanks for being with me today. Go to mapslanguageofsales.com, mapslanguageofsales.com to enroll. Use the code WEB15 for 15% off. And I'll see you on September 8th. Thanks, everyone.